Welcome back to the Oddity Shop, you oddballs. This is the podcast where we
tell you creepy, odd, weird, strange, and bizarre stories, sometimes with cryptids and monsters, sometimes with a bunch of other stuff that, we just really like from around the globe.
I'm your curator, Kara. This is your curator, Zachary.
And obviously, curator Kara has no patience for my shenanigans today.
No, you were going too long.
How are you?
I thought you were going to take my line. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, no. I took your line.
Oh, no. You took my line.
I'm doing good. I feel like I've had a really productive week, and I've been waking up early every day, and I've been having a lot of caffeine because I finally figured out how to use Julia's bean grinder, so I no longer have to wait for her for coffee.
Wow. It only took you how long?
Long enough. Let's just say that.
2 years.
Well, it took me a long time to even figure out that she was grinding beans, so.
All right. So good job.
Thank you.
You did something.
What's new in your life?
My back hurts so bad. I have blisters all over my hands and every muscle in my body aches because I did so much yard work because I had off. I haven't even really talked to you. I had off Monday, Tuesday.
Why are we the same person?
We had those 280. Oh, yeah. We had blisters everywhere. We
both have blisters in the same spot from the raking.
2 days that were like 80 degrees. So all day what I did was like yard work and planting flowers and mulch. If anyone has mulch, you know that like every year you have to turn the mulch. And I have a very big yard with a lot of mulch, and I did it all by myself.
What color mulch do you do?
Black.
I do the same, and I hate that even if like you had a year where a lot of it retained, it loses so much color. Like you have to redo it.
No matter what color, you have to do it every year.
Ugh, it's so stupid. I almost bought the rubber mulch this year.
So you, I think, should have because you don't have a lot. So it's nice. We priced it out. I couldn't
even imagine.
I couldn't afford it for how much mulch I have. So anyway, that's that.
That's honestly the first thing on my list to talk about too is my back hurts and everything from yard work. But dude, this weather is just bringing me back to life. Like I'm through the worst of the allergy part of it now.
Yeah. Me too. I don't feel as foggy.
Oh my God. 2 weeks ago was so bad. Like I got like a legit head cold and I know it's from everything blooming.
Yeah, it's crazy. You and I were like down for a couple of days. But this is the first time we're recording since our event.
Technically.
We had an event. It was great.
It was great. It was really fun. Real quick before we go into the event though, still in the yard work, your husband will be so proud of me.
Okay.
On that front area that has been needing grass redone for years, I turned over, added soil, aerated, overseeded, and fertilized. And I've been waking up early every morning to make sure it's watered.
Good job. That's awesome. It makes such a difference. It's going to look so nice.
I feel bad for the pollinators, though.
I know.
Okay, but the event.
So yeah, guys, we had an event.
It was so much fun hanging out with everyone. Like, we met a bunch of new people. We got to hang out with a bunch of friends already.
Hello.
But yeah, no, and everyone had the same consensus, which I think you and I could agree we need to do more.
Oh, and I finally got to meet Danny. Yay! I was very, very excited about that part.
Yeah, it only took like 3 years. I know. I still can't believe that's the first time you guys met.
I know, you forgot.
I know.
Like, even when I was like, wait, I need to hug Danny. I've never met Danny. You're like, oh my God, I forgot. You always forget. Well, now you don't have to because we did.
You met. So we'll go back to me forgetting and it'll be justified. Okay, speaking of, though, events, and by the time this episode comes out, you probably have already heard the new ad that's coming. But I've got to talk about, so there's an event that you and I are considering going to because we found the coolest fucking paranormal group of all time. It is called Haunters Against Hate, which is a super pro LGBT paranormal group, and they're trying to give like voices to the LGBT community within and outside of paranormal. And I just think it's so cool.
Are they more paranormal or horror? I think they're kind of both.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Because I was reading it and they do a lot of horror stuff. Like with a lot of like horror shows, movies, and things like that. Their merch is very, very cute. There's a shirt that I think I'm going to order actually pretty soon. It's very cute.
I know whoever is doing their merch is
I like it.
Really freaking good.
But basically when Zach says we're thinking about going, we're probably going. We just have to make sure that we can, like, with our work and our schedules, but we're probably going. It's like a 5-hour drive from us, like road trip, baby.
Let's do it. But just in case you guys are interested, we're going to have that ad running about the event, but they also are a nonprofit. They run mostly by donation. So check out their website, donate if you want to, if it calls to you. But, I think it's a great thing.
I think it's a really great thing. And it also, I have goosebumps because I just love stuff like this. I think it always speaks volumes to when you reach out to companies or foundations or things like this. The email that we got back was just so wonderful. And it's really nice when you want to work with somebody that it's just like a really great person and you can tell even through email that they're just so amazing. I'm very excited.
I am too. Okay, so we'll have to be there. You guys, like I said, you've already heard that.
It's in Kentucky.
Been running a couple weeks. Yes,
Kentucky.
Come with us.
All of our is it Kentuckans?
Kentuckans?
What are you? What Kentuckans?
Kentuckian?
Kentuckan sounds weird, but I like it. Okay. Do you have a question for me?
Hold on. I'm not done.
What?
Because I got my custom spirit board finally.
Oh, you did. Where did you get that?
My mystical.
My is M-I.
My mystical forest. But it is a local to us woodworker. P.S. my dad, who also makes the most amazing, just...
He's my dad, too.
Creepy, metaphysical wood goods. Yeah, no, Kara claims him. Okay, that's all I've got. What else do you have?
Oh, I have one last thing because this just made me think of it. At the event, our parents were there. So they got to meet, like my mom got to meet your mom and dad. And your mom is so cute. She's like, she tells my mom, I could actually cry. It was so precious. She goes, thank you so much for sharing your daughter. And I was like, oh my God, like I actually could cry. It was so cute.
I totally missed that whole thing.
Because y'all, that event was so much fun, but Zach and I had no brains. We were.
Listen, it was our first time, okay?
But no, that was so sweet, and I just loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I'll go get all teary-eyed. I said, I'm like, you guys don't do this to me. It's our first event. We're already emotional about it, and then y'all are gonna get up. Can't.
Before you get teary-eyed, then let's open the shop up, and I'll ask you a question. At any point in your life, did you ever want to be a pirate or Viking and take out to the open seas?
So I've always wanted to be a pirate. My brother wants to be a Viking. And when he dies, I have to give him a Viking funeral. And I have a disease that I just found out that's called Viking disease. So I could either go either way, baby.
Okay, so hold on. You're going to give him a Viking funeral. But when I wanted my gay death at 30, nobody would give me a Viking funeral, no matter how much I begged. Bullshit.
First off, why would I do what? Ignorant. Continue on.
Whatever. Okay.
So do I have to pick one?
No. That's good.
I want to be a pirate.
Now, part
though.
2.
I've always wanted to be a pirate.
What would be your biggest fear?
If I was a Viking or a pirate, or just in general?
If you were a Viking. If you were a Viking or a pirate, what would be your biggest fear about that life?
Is this a shipwreck?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Should this be obvious to me?
No, that's okay. I'm actually kind of glad. It is shipwrecks, technically. But specific types. Okay, so ready to go.
Are we talking about Blackbeard?
Nope. Stop guessing.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Long before air travel was possible and we had the seafaring tech we do now, the first navigators took out to the seas, which was known to be treacherous, unstable, dangerous even, Kara.
Okay.
However, for those brave enough to set sail, there was the promise of new lands, wealth, and trade.
Okay.
But stories started to come up, Kara, time and time again. The story of a monster in the waters.
Ooh, this is not where I thought we were going.
Who particularly like to latch onto ships and their crew, dragging them down to the murky depths.
Okay.
Often described as a colossal creature with massive thrashing tentacles. Yeah. Sailors throughout history claimed it would drag entire ships beneath the waves, leaving behind only splintered wood, terrified whispers. Its body so vast, it was sometimes mistaken for an island rising from the sea. What the fuck are we talking about, Kara?
Well, isn't it just called the Kraken?
The Kraken.
Okay, thank you. I was like, oh God, I didn't want to be wrong.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
I am too. I will say, though, it might be a shorter episode. So there's a little less on the Kraken out there than I anticipated. But we also might talk about how this one is rooted in reality a little bit. So let's start off with a story. 19th century France.
Ooh.
Well, in the waters near France, at least.
Okay.
1861, the French corvette, which is actually a type of ship, I learned.
Okay.
So a corvette is a ship, not a car. Named the Electon, is on its way to Cayenne, which is also more than just a spice. It's an island. I learned so much already. 3 sentences.
Oh my God.
So near the Tenerife Islands, the ship itself is about 150 feet long. It's made of wood, and it carries a crew of 62, captained by Frédéric Boyer.
Ooh, I like that name.
I know. French names are just so fun.
Frédéric.
On November 30th, the ship is nearing the island when the crew member on lookout begins to shout, "A large body, partly submerged, on the surface." So the captain, having heard the legend of the Kraken, he looks down and sees what appears to be a massive creature, squid-like in nature. He had heard of it, and he also knew that nobody was able to prove the existence of the Kraken. So he wanted to capture it to prove it to the world.
Oh, God.
Right? So he was fearful at first, knowing that they might be dragged below, but the body never moved.
Oh.
So he signals to the crew to fire muskets, large harpoons, and nets to ensnare the creature. The bullets just kind of bounced off its rubbery body.
That's so amazing.
I know. I wish. But what they were able to do was kind of like get a net around it and lasso and pull the thing up onto the ship. But as they pulled it, it kind of pulled apart.
Oh.
Because it was so massive and had so much weight to it and was obviously unalive, it kind of split as they were pulling it from the water. And only the tip of the tail remained on board. And the rest of the monster went right beneath the surface.
Okay.
So this is, though, the first time the creature had actually been snagged and became not just a creature of legend, but they had a piece of it.
Okay. Are we 100% sure / certain that it was dead, or does it like regenerate like once things get cut off?
Dead.
Okay.
Because that's the whole thing. They were able to lasso it and shoot it and all that stuff because it was just not moving.
Okay.
Though the question gets asked, is this a Kraken or something else?
And they just got the tail?
Just the tail.
Okay. Do we have pictures?
Or are the Kraken and something else one of the same? No, this was 1861, homie.
Oh, yeah.
No pictures. Okay, I'll tell you. You can ponder it. We're going to talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let's kind of get into like the origin of where the legend came from, because even in 1861, it was already like legend. Okay. So it goes all the way back to Norse mythology. And the oldest references to Kraken-like creatures appear in, by the way, I am not Eastern European. I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
Orvar Odor Saga. ORVAR-ODDR.
Okay.
Orvar Odor. That's what we're going with, because it sounds better than odor.
Odor. Yeah. Okay.
So this is a book that came out in like the 13th century. It's a saga that describes two sea monsters.
Ooh.
One is the Hafgufa, or sea mist, and the other is the Lingbacker, or the leatherback.
Okay.
So the Hafgufa is widely considered to be like the earliest version of a Kraken. And they describe a beast so big that like sailors would regularly mistake it for an island.
That's wild concept.
Wild. Now, remember, a lot of these people, sailors, fishermen, we know stories get exaggerated. But...
well, they be drinking.
Right. These sagas do say... I mean, I would be too if I had to live on the seas at that time. But the sagas do say that the creatures lived off of Norway, Greenland, and Iceland. And they only surfaced rarely. But when they did, they brought about destructive whirlpools and doom for any ship that got too close.
Okay.
Then we get the term Kraken, right? So this is thought to have evolved from the word krake, which is referred to as an unhealthy animal or something twisted and curled.
Oh, I like that.
Right. It kind of makes me think of like a witchy hand for some reason.
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense, though, if it's saying it has tentacles, you know, those kind of curl, they kind of like do weird things. So that's like a very... What was the original word?
Basically Kraken without an N, krake.
Krake.
So that would be now...
I like that.
Like the Greek nomenclature part of it, right? So we have the Norse, we have the Greek, and it kind of starts to come together later in Norse mythology, where tales of the Kraken really start to emerge as their stories include like a myriad of sea creatures that haunted the minds of the seafaring Vikings. So this is when it starts to, they pull from the island part of it, or looking as big as an island. They pull from the whirlpools. They kind of pull from the Greek twisted creature. And that's where the stories of this colossal squid-like creature comes from that has the ability to just pull entire ships down under the water with its tentacles.
Okay.
So over time, the legends of these beasts start to spread to other Scandinavian countries, and fishermen of all sorts are on the watch for the beast.
The beast.
So how do we know about the Kraken? Because a lot of this wasn't written histories except for these like really early books.
Right.
This we kind of have to credit to Bishop Eric Pontoppidan.
Pedon?
Listen, I'm doing the best with these names, okay? Pontoppidan. 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 Pontoppidan.
Nobody come for us.
No. Sorry, Bishop. We're just going to refer to him as Bishop.
Bishop.
All right, so 1752. This is when like the legend went from being kind of like passed down stories to more formal records when Bishop Eric writes about the creature in his work, The Natural History of Norway. So now it's like legitimately in history books.
Is anybody else picturing Bishop Eric like Prince Eric? Because I feel like it makes sense because then Ursula took down the ship with her octopus stuff and he's Prince Eric. It's like Bishop Eric. I see
where you're going with this.
That's how I'm going to envision my Bishop Eric.
Okay.
Okay.
As long as he's not peeing on anything.
No, you're right.
Okay. So he writes, though, the Kraken was round, flat, and full of arms, about 1.5 miles wide. He continues, when it descends, it creates a massive whirlpool that could suck down ships. But fishermen supposedly benefited from its presence because all these schools of fish would gather near it. It kind of drew in the fishermen to their death, not on purpose. It was just they were chasing the fish were chasing the Kraken. Boom.
Circle of life, baby.
Right. So he actually treats this though as like a legitimate, though really seen like part of the marine ecosystem. Like he thinks this is not a creature of legend. Like, hey, this is real shit that we have to deal with.
Which is smart.
Right. So now it's gone from, lore type history to real history. And over the course of hundreds of years, the story of the Kraken really spreads across the world. The thing is, though, is like those who live to tell the tale really only have stories and sightings. There's really very, very little proof of its existence because, not many people survive it and nobody was able to capture it.
Right.
So what I kind of want to do was touch on some of like the more famous sightings of it.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot, and most of them were just like super boring. Oh my God, we saw this Kraken. And they explain it. So I tried to find some that were a little bit more in depth. Okay, Kara. So we recently came across Haunters Against Hate, the pro-LGBT 501c3 nonprofit group, and we have to share their event. Are you looking for the most unique and totally accepting event of the year?
Then get ready for Haunters Against Hate, the Event 3 Season of the Witch.
It is a one-of-a-kind convention that blends all things scary and spooky while promoting inclusivity, acceptance, and community.
You'll get a reunion of artists from the TV show Face Off, plus makeup and cosplay competitions, a full hall of vendors, and incredible drag shows.
And don't miss the annual Haunters Against Hate Awards, workshops, seminars, haunt excursions, and my favorite part, live goats. I don't know why they're there, but I'm here for it.
Oh, and did we mention Edgar Allan Poe might be lurking around?
Oh, well, it all happens August 8th through 10th at the Crown Plaza, Louisville Airport in Louisville, Kentucky.
Grab your tickets, book your hotel, and get all the details at HAHtheevent.com. That's HAHtheevent.com.
Because hate is the scariest thing of all. Link is down below in the show notes. Get your tickets today. Goodbye.
Bye. We saw this Kraken.
Right, but like it's just like the stories over the years are like, oh yeah, we saw it. Oh yeah, we saw it too. Couple tentacles, right?
Woo!
I think it really, like, truly at its core is sort of a fisherman's story that just gets embellished upon and embellished upon, at least through some of the people who tell it. But
I'll let you know my thought when you say I can.
Perfect. We're going to start, though, with one of the ones that showed up. The story is in the Orvar order, the saga from the 13th century.
Okay.
So the location of these sightings, like we said earlier, a little bit off the coast of Norway, Iceland, Greenland. So what happened is the Hofguffa, basically this is that thing that's described as the thing that's as big as an island, right? And a lot of sailors would start to catch fish near these random islands. And, more and more fishermen would go there. So sailors would mistakenly try to dock on this island or near it.
Right.
And then the island would start to shudder and move and then a foul smell would emit from it.
Oh.
Then, next, the sailors would say that the entire school of fish would disappear as if they were just gulped by the island.
So these are accounts of people that have survived then? Where do we get these stories?
This story is in that saga, the Orvar Order.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it was like a collection of stories. This is where the legend was really born.
Okay,
this is how it came about. So it was people would be fishing near the island would start to move. Oh shit, it just swallowed the fish. Oh shit, now it's trying to swallow us.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd come back. Or they'd watch their buddy's ships get destroyed or eaten or sucked down below.
Okay.
So not too many like terrible, like great details of this, but the significance of this story is that it's really the foundation of the legend. The interesting thing here, though, compared to some of the other stories, is that it doesn't really treat the beast as like the aggressor.
Right.
But it's more that something that's just like massive and lurking and deadly if disturbed. Which is kind of contradictory to, like, I feel like the pop culture things we see of, like, you're just merrily going along in your boat and cracking.
That's how I live my life.
What? Randomly attacking people who walk by you?
That disturb me.
Yeah.
Don't disturb me. I will randomly attack you.
Especially before your caffeine in the morning.
All right.
Quick side note. The last time I saw you early in the morning, you appeared at my door and said, I have things to do. I'm going to lock myself in my room. Don't even come near me. I'm like, I'm good.
No, first off, give more context. That was we were getting ready for the event. I had very bad anxiety and I said, I need to do my hair and makeup. It's going to take me a while because I'm going to be self-conscious. I just can't be bothered.
I just love it. It was like so stern and anything. I had already planned to just leave you alone. I know this. And I'm like doing my own thing already.
I just had to let you know, because if I wouldn't have let you know, I would have had anxiety that you're just going to come and interrupt me.
Okay, fair. All right, Kraken. We're ready for story number 2. Kraken, Kara.
Kraken.
No more Curator, Kara. All right. So now this one is more what you're looking for. So this is a French naval encounter from the 1800s. Our source is sailor testimony, but it is not officially reported with a name.
Okay.
The location this time is the North Atlantic Ocean. And this French naval vessel was reportedly attacked by a giant tentacled creature that was so large that it like started to grab the underside of its ship, and it was able to wrap its tentacles all the way around to the top of the ship's mast.
Which I feel like those are the pictures that you see. Is that
absolutely?
What
this
year
is like your typical. This is in the 1800s.
Okay.
A lot of this I don't have significant dates for it. And
that's
like,
okay, I was just curious.
So I picked this story from the like 1700s to the 1900s. This story happens over and over and over again. So the sailors claimed that they were trying to like hack at the tentacles with their axes. They were trying to free themselves as the ends of it were wrapping around their ankles. But the reason we actually have this story physically reported is because they were able to do enough damage to him that all of a sudden all the tentacles released, pulled back under the water, and went beneath the waves and just left them. Now, the crew was obviously shaken, but one of them ran to the belly of the boat. I can't think of what the underdecks are called, and was able to look through a porthole and see the beast as it was coming away. And he kind of gave it that squid-like description more than the island we've had from the older legends.
Okay.
He was able to get a really good look at the tentacles and said that the thinnest of its arms were thicker than any man's legs he'd ever seen.
Okay.
So, but that's the thinnest. So we know it's like,
yeah. So
if you start to think about that, let's say the biggest legs you've ever seen, let's just use Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, right? Like probably close to a dinner plate.
But are we talking about the thighs or what are these things called?
Your calves. Your upper legs and lower legs. That is a reference. If you know, you know.
Actually, if you know, comment.
Yes, please. Because I will never not laugh at that. Okay. So the significance of this story, though, that also, so as he went down below the deck and he saw this, right, some of them are still wrapped on. So as the thing's pulling away, it starts to pull the ship pretty hard and just pulls it absolutely sideways across the water. Okay. So significance here, while officially undocumented because we don't know the names, this is like the story that becomes the sailor legend. This one's often kind of referred to as like one of the clearest Kraken attack stories. Now, some have argued that it sounds like an actual creature, but we're gonna touch base on that again later.
Okay.
So I did try really, really hard to find a good Reddit story. There's almost none. Like most people don't have recent run-ins.
I was just scouring Reddit literally right now as you were telling me looking for Kraken encounters.
Like you cannot find modern day Kraken ones.
No, it's all like, how do you hunt one? What do you do if you encounter one?
There were so much less like encounter stories than I thought. But in 2003, the Antarctic Kraken, the internet legend story was born. So this comes from internet forums and conspiracy websites, unfortunately. But I think it's worth noting.
Okay.
So it's near Antarctica, and this viral story starts to go around along with a grainy video that claimed to show that during a deep sea expedition, this enormous unidentified creature was found swimming beneath the ice. And the video showed what looked like immense arms behind it. People were going on and on like, okay, this is like actually a Kraken video. That's where it gets its name, the Antarctic Kraken, right?
Okay.
A lot of people, though, think this was a hoax. And then, of course, anytime we're getting to conspiracy, well, it's they want you to think it's a hoax because it's actually a cover-up by the oceanic researchers. So this one's just like hotly debated. So anyways, though, a lot of people were saying that this one in the video, like if they were able to describe how big it was, your favorite thing, that it would be over 75 feet across, not long, across, and about 3 times as long.
Oh.
And then it would cause disturbances in the water that were several hundred feet wide.
Wow.
It's a suspect story, but its significance and the reason why we're talking about this one is because it was like we said earlier, the only modern really like cryptid phenomena sighting of this. But because it's Antarctica, people also try to say it was either a megalodon or deep sea alien. So take that one with a grain of salt as you will.
Okay, I'm just looking up how big the biggest whale is. Because okay, so the blue whale is the largest animal on Earth, capable of reaching lengths up to 100 feet and weighing 200 tons. And you said this was 75 feet.
225 feet long.
What was that? Oh, what did I just say?
75 feet wide. And I said 3 times as long. I was doing the head math for you.
Okay, so
it's pretty massive.
Yeah, the biggest whale is lengthwise 100 feet. I can't even comprehend that, but
but
then double, triple that. That's crazy.
Now the thing is, this one has a high chance of being a fake, but I still think it's cool to have like the modern sighting. Now, so we had a lot of like 1800s and before ones. We had a more recent one. Here's one from the 1930s that I thought was pretty decent. This story comes off of the coast of Newfoundland, Canada, which would be about directly across the ocean from like Norway, Greenland, where the story originated. And this group of fishermen described being followed by a massive tentacled creature.
Oh.
Some of the boats were actually reported to have been violently rocked or pulled. At first, they couldn't see from what, and then they would start to see the tentacles like creeping up their boat.
Oh.
And then they'd notice these like large shadows just beneath the surface of the water.
Oh, that's creepy.
Few said that they saw some long snake-like arms reach above the water, trying to grab the boats.
Okay.
Now, these stories are significant because one, it's actually like written, it's not handed down, it's not, oh, this one-off, but we're not giving our names. These were actually pretty well-respected fishermen.
And they got away.
And they got away.
Okay.
Plus, it emerged during a time when certain carcasses were washing ashore. So this like is kind of the story that started to fuel the Kraken fears into the 20th century, because those carcasses that were coming up on the shore actually looked like very, very large squids.
Yeah.
So the mention of the giant squid really kind of leads us into the next bit, where I've teased the fact that there might be some rooted in reality portions to the Kraken story. But before we do that, where are you at? What are your thoughts?
I have a question.
And feels on the Kraken. Ooh, you have a question for me. You're supposed to do that on your episode that you've been failing at.
Okay, so we said 1930s, right? Was this last? Do we know based off of not, and if you didn't look into this, it's fine. Not based off the Kraken and all that. Do we know why they think all of these carcasses were being washed up?
Yeah, not so much the why, but we're going to get into that a bit.
Okay. What did you ask me though? What my thoughts were on this?
Yeah, just what your thoughts are on Kraken so far.
Here's the thing. There are so many, I was going to say undiagnosed. There are so many undiscovered things, creatures lurking in the deep blue sea, deep dark. It's not even blue down there.
No, there's just no light.
There's just no way for me to matter of factly be like, yeah, no, this didn't exist. Here's the thing. If we're saying like a Kraken as a cryptid, which I think they technically would land in like...
They could fall into cryptid territory for sure. But
also, I think most people think that they're a cryptid.
Yeah.
And I know that there's debates versus it being a cryptid or an animal. I, first off, don't really give a shit if it's a cryptid or an animal. What the fuck does it matter? Because to be completely honest, cryptids really could be animals depending on which cryptid.
I think most cryptids, right, if any of the cryptids that we talk about do exist, they are real animals. We just haven't found them.
Exactly. And I think you and I have talked about that a couple of times for different things. So I don't really care which one it lands into, but I do know that there's heavily debated things on like whether it's this or that, and people go back and forth on that. I don't really care about that much. I definitely believe it's real. Do I think it's the extent of maybe some of these stories large wise? I don't know. But then again, maybe, because why not? Look at dinosaur bones and how big they were way back in the day. So is it that it was that large?
Perfect. I'm going to stop you because you're getting where you just said, I'm not going to get into the debate. I really don't care. I'm going to make you care about it because we're going to talk about that whole debate, but we're going exactly where you're stating. So I don't mean to cut you off, but it was perfect lead in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think we can all see where this is going, right? We mentioned the giant squid, but like actual science have found and identified some real creatures that could be the culprits here, both being the giant squid and its larger brother, the colossal squid. Mm-hmm. Just like you had literally asked this was perfect. About the same time as the French vessel story that we were talking about, those washed up carcasses started showing on beaches. So that story was 1930. They started really about 1860. And all of a sudden these like large squids, now not as big as the story, start to show. Now, is it that they showed up on beaches or we just started looking for them? I don't know. But one of the first ones to really dig their hands into it was a Danish zoologist named Japheth Steenstrup, these names, who named it the Architethus d'eau, or the giant squid. So parts of seemingly huge squids, never the full thing, but the tentacles and the tails are falling onto beaches, particularly in Newfoundland and Iceland and Scandinavian countries where the legend of the Kraken started. Late 1800s to the 1900s, we start to get more and more kind of evidence of these things being real, because then a full specimen actually does wash up on a beach. So they're able to see the entire thing.
Okay.
It's not half eaten. It's not just the tail. And this is now 1873. And like scientists are like, okay, we got to take this a little bit more seriously. So the full specimen comes up in Newfoundland, and local Reverend Movis Harvey kept it draped in his bathtub and kept it moist so that scientists could study it, which I think that's so funny. It's like a preacher is like, yeah, I'm going to take it home and put it in my bathtub. And, here's the thing. This can't quite be the creature of our legend if it can fit in a preacher's bathtub.
Right.
But what it does prove is that in the ocean, there are squid much larger than we previously thought them capable of growing. Studies go on about these guys for over 100 years. In the 2000s, actually, we start to get way, way, way more answers. So some marine researchers were doing a deep sea expedition. They were using cameras cameras and bait to try to pull out these larger squid. And they tried for decades. They had no luck. But in 2004, Japanese scientist Tsunemi Kubadera and Kyochi Mori captured the first photos of a live giant squid in the wild at 3,000 feet deep.
Okay.
In 2006, they captured the first video of one because it was wounded and had come up to the surface. So then they start to get more photos and videos as they learn kind of like how they live and where they live. And it turns out like the ocean is actually really, really full of these things. They're just really deep and elusive.
Right. Which makes sense.
Now, giant squid, however, can only get up to about 43 feet long and 600 pounds.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just looked up colossal squid and it said like 23 feet. That doesn't make sense to me.
You have to be looking at giant squid because colossals get even bigger. So colossal squid or giant is 43 feet. But then you're getting ahead of it, right? So the next discovery was made in 2007. Colossal squid enters the chat. And this thing is heavier and larger. This one, the first bits of it were actually found in 1925, where they found 2 tentacle clubs in a sperm whale's stomach.
Oh.
Then in 2007, the first full adult specimen was captured alive and frozen by a New Zealand fishing crew. Again, same origin of our legend. Now this one was, and here's where I think you might be looking at stats differently. Its body was 10 feet long, but with all of its arms and tentacles, it was well over 50 feet. And this one weighs 1,000 pounds. So now we have at least a 43 foot, really skinny, kind of tiny one at 600 pounds, and then one up just over 50 feet at right about twice the weight. These are like literally the largest invertebrate that were ever discovered. They're horrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely horrifying. So their suckers are just these giant teeth, like razor sharp suckers. They have a giant beak instead of a mouth that can just like crush its prey. They're basically like, you know how strong octopus are? Octopi?
Octopi.
Like it's that same level of strength. And these things are huge. The weird thing is where you were talking about whales earlier, whales actually helped us discover them, because that's how we found where to video and shoot them. Because sperm whales that were coming to the surface, they were trailing whale ships, and people were trailing the whales, trailing ships to protect them from being whaled and hunted. They would start to tag the whales, but they would notice that they'd have these massive circular scars up to 18 inches in diameter.
Okay.
That were consistent that we'd see on smaller wildlife that had been attacked by squid. So now we know like these squid are attacking things way larger than them.
Right.
Right. So these whales, and some of them succumb to their injuries from it. So I couldn't even imagine how the squid with its beak would eat a whale, but we do know that they attack things larger than themselves. Right now we have, though, as proof that at least 2 types of squid exist that are way bigger than we ever thought. They attack things much larger than themselves and is like the ocean's apex predator. So with that, and I think this is sort of where you were going earlier, is the Kraken legend, lore, not existent? Is it cryptid? Or is it an animal we haven't discovered yet? I kind of tend to think, like, if we know a couple larger squid exist and we just started finding them within the last 20 years, and we've only explored so much of the ocean, who is to say that this giant Kraken of lore didn't exist and maybe has died off, or still exists and it's just way down deep in there?
Right. But I guess in my head, it doesn't matter if we categorize it as real or a cryptid, because to me, cryptids are real. They're technically undiscovered animals. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, that's why I say I don't care which way, because it's like, whatever. I believe that, yeah, it's definitely deep, deep down there. Maybe it ain't as big as it used to be, but it's definitely down there and it's large.
Other thing I kind of think too is maybe they were just talking about these kind of squid, and it's like the typical fisherman story where it's just like as they hand down the lore, it grows and grows. Because I don't honestly think, I personally believe in the original story of it, like this thing that's big enough to be a mile-wide island. I just don't see the world being able to support something that large. What is so funny about that?
I just don't see the world being able to support something.
No, like literally from an ecological standpoint, if there's multiple of these things over a mile large
there probably
eating
isn't
schools of fish in the ocean, like our planet can't sustain those.
Right,
for
but there
long
probably isn't that many of them.
I don't know. I feel like by now, though, like if they still existed, we would have had. I just don't think that something that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It probably could have existed, but just like dinosaurs, they don't exist no more. They could have existed that largely, and then evolution,
Okay, let me say this. I don't think something existed that big in the 13th century alongside human beings. That's more where I'm going with it, of it being exaggerated. So I don't know. Where are you at with it? Like, I kind of think that the Kraken was just a bigger squid than we've been able to record yet. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree that it's definitely was real, and it was obviously just fabricated to the length or the size of it, or it was that large and there just wasn't that many, and now they're not. But like, even if you look at a squid now next to a human, like these giant squids next to like a human size, it's very easy for your brain to see it in real life and exaggerate it.
Yeah.
Because even if you and I were to see a whale, like a real huge ass fucking whale, the biggest whale, your brain wouldn't even know how to compute the size of it. So it would be so easy for us to say that it was 300 feet long or whatever. And it's really only, what did I say, 100 or something. So it's like, yeah, it was probably definitely exaggerated. And we've gone over this over and over again in all these episodes when people size things. And it's like, how do you know how big that was? By looking at it.
I do tend to think, though, with as many stories as we have, like, there had to be something at least big enough to attack these ships.
Whoa, right. No. I'm not saying that. I'm not discrediting that.
Oh,
it was large as hell. But again, if you're in a panic mode and you're seeing a creature that is 5 times larger than you are and it's attacking your ship down, like, yeah, in your brain, I just feel like you calculate it bigger.
Okay, total side note, but talking about like calculating things bigger than they are. Have you been following
your dick?
Yeah. Have you been following my dick?
No.
First of all, fuck you. Second, though, the story of the anglerfish that recently came to the surface.
Oh, little angler. No, but I kind of know about it because everyone's talking about anglerfishes.
Did you see how small it actually is?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I did. But I knew that they were that small.
Well, I didn't. I always assumed. I think I like got stuck on like the Finding Nemo where like a clownfish could just swim right inside the anglerfish's mouth. This thing is like palm sized. They're so
everybody
tiny.
Thought that they were so large, and now everyone's obsessed with little anglerfishes. They are so. I think they're cute.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I had one in an aquarium. Okay, so. End of the side note, I kind of lied to you earlier. I do have a little bit of a Reddit story. Now, I had to dig through post and post and post. I don't know if it's totally Kraken, but it is still fucking weird. So,
okay, let's hear it.
This is a story from Winder Potts, and he says,
"Do you know how long ago?"
It was a couple years ago, and that it was posted.
Recent.
Well, that it was posted. So it starts off with, this incident happened in March 1962.
Oh, thank you.
Very clear for you. Good question. 4 boys were visiting a sunken ship, and only one named Brian McCleary survived. The bodies of one of the other boys, Brad Rice, washed ashore, but there was never any sign of the other 2 teenagers. McCleary was almost dead when he was found and was hallucinating. He claimed something resembling a sea serpent with many arms had eaten his friends.
Oh.
He was probably mistaken.
No.
But in that location, bodies always wash ashore, and it's strange that there was never any signs of his 2 companions. So, like, people who, what that's saying is people who died, like, naturally drowning or whatever, like, their bodies wash up.
Uh-huh.
So something had to have taken them.
Did we try to look up this story? Is it legit?
I didn't look it up more than that, honestly, but that was literally the only Reddit story I could find that may have been like a first-hand Kraken encounter.
What was his name?
Brian McCleary.
He's a rugby player in New Zealand.
I feel like Brian McCleary is a pretty common freaking name. So yeah, I mean, that's really it. The stories I went over are the most documented ones, not many details, but I think it's a mixture of legend being handed down, fisherman's story, and real creatures that possibly we just haven't discovered yet. So I don't know. I think the Kraken is absolutely real, and I think it's not like
she real.
So many cryptids have like a mystical thing about them, right? Like the chupacabra sucks out all the blood, and the Mothman has the glowing eyes, and this and that. This is just like the exact description of creatures we know exist, just way freaking bigger.
Yeah, that's true too. But also, it's just like leave it be, and it'll leave you be. And it's kind of like a lot of things. Just stop fucking with them.
So on that note, I ask you again, would you still be a pirate or a Viking?
Yeah.
What if you get Kraken, though?
Here's the thing. I think I could befriend the Kraken.
You can't just befriend every cryptid, Kara.
Oh, I can.
I can't wait to one day be the person who has to tell them what to put on your tombstone.
Oh, yeah. If you can stop a burglary in that shirt, I can befriend whatever cryptid I want.
Okay. You know what? The funny thing is only our Patreons are going to get that outtake from this episode. So they get in on the joke. But I almost stopped crying today until Kara shamed me out of it. The blinking light has stopped, though. So...
Well, the robbery already happened.
The robbery's done, and that's the story of the Kraken. There we go. Oh, I bet it was a Kraken breaking in next door. Okay, I'll just tell her. For right before we started recording, I don't know what it was, but this blinking light was going on next door, and I was telling Kara we couldn't record yet because I had to go stop a robbery because it looked like an alarm, and she shamed me and told me I couldn't stop one.
No, you asked me, you said, do you think I could stop a robbery? And I said, no. And then he got upset, and I said, well, how do you think you're going to stop a robbery? And then he just, I said, and in that shirt, how you gonna stop a robbery?
It's a fun shirt.
They'd be like,
for those of you, if you didn't see the clips, it's a very loud alien.
It definitely gives me like Cartoon Network, old Cartoon Network, like
Hanna-Barbera.
No, what's the Rocco's Modern Life, something vibes, like something. All right,
let's get out of here.
Okay.
Emoji for this episode: a boat and an octopus. Or a squid. I think there's a squid.
I think there's a squid one. Yeah.
Squid in a boat. That's what I want. Okay, so like we asked too, if you get the upper legs reference, write in and let us know. But also if you have stories, write in or call in. All the information for that is below in the show notes. We've got almost enough for another bonus episode for y'all. What else do these fine folks need to do while we kick them out and close up the shop?
I had something in my head and then you said the upper legs thing and it took me out again. Oh shit, I don't know. It'll come to me way too late. Oh, what I was gonna say is, we do have a Patreon. If you don't know that, we have a Patreon.
Yeah, you get some Monday motivation, you get some behind the scenes episodes a whole day early.
You don't have to. You can be on the free tier to get Zach's Monday motivation. You don't have to pay any of us. You just have to go and follow us on Patreon.
Absolutely.
So, just want to put that out there. Okay, that's really all I need from you guys is love and support.
Always.
Thank you.
Tell Kara she's pretty. We haven't said that one in a minute.
Oh, my cup says hello, gorgeous.
Oh, okay. She told herself she's pretty. She doesn't need you anymore.
Shout out to, I cannot remember who it is, but I don't know who it is, but I don't remember your name. I'm sorry, but you commented on something like a week ago that said, Kara, you're so pretty. And I was like, thank you.
Some people listen.
That's somebody that is like probably backlogged because I haven't said that in a long time. So
it's been a hot minute.
Thanks, girl. Okay. Anyway, we appreciate you. Love you. The most important thing you can do for us is to creep a real yard balls.
Goodbye.
Bye.